I was looking for some freedom. And that's when I discovered contemporary dance, where I felt much free type of movements. I mean, in ballet, the positions are very, very much set, and the movements are set. However, in contemporary dance, I can get guidelines on how to move or so, but within those guidelines, I can explore my own movements, how far my body can go, how far my mind can go, where are the limits, if the limits are in my mind or they are in my body, how both work. So all this kind of mind-body awareness.
Today, I've got Ines Alonso, she has a background in chemical engineering. She moved to London to study a master's in creativity, innovation, and leadership. And as part of her work there, her interests have developed and grown into the areas of movement. And so part of her passion is looking at movement and leadership, which formed, I think, your dissertation. So Ines is going to come and share something of what she's learned and how it may affect all of us as we live through these days and our times. So Ines, you're more than welcome. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Johnson, for inviting me for this conversation. The dissertation idea came from my own experience with movement. I was attending dance classes just because I liked it. But then as the practice developed, I realized I was developing many other skills that I didn't even consider, such as developing trust, how to take risks, acknowledge and be aware of my emotions, how to deal with them. I mean, a huge range of skills. So this came up while thinking about my dissertation topic, and I thought, how could I use this to link it to leadership, which I was interested at that moment. So I thought of how can we use movement practices to develop leadership skills. And I focused specifically on VUCA environments. VUCA meaning volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity.
No, so nothing like what we're living through at the moment, Ines.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I thought that the master and my dissertation prepared me for these times. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, do you think that actually to be true now, or in terms of the skills that you've learned around movement, how's that actually helped you on a day-to-day life?
Well, one of the things I've always worked in research. So in research, there is always huge uncertainty. You never know if your project is gonna work, where your research is gonna take you. So being able to stay in that space for long periods, it's not easy. So dance somehow helped me there, helped me to hold all the emotions that come with uncertainty, and try to manage them the best way I could, so that I could get to the results I wanted, or sometimes and many times to results that I could not even expect. They were beyond my expectations. So yeah, there is a whole range of
Is that
skills
enough?
going on there.
Yeah, is that it? When you say there were things that started to come out that were beyond your expectation, is that in a positive or negative direction, or helpful or unhelpful?
For me, it was very, very positive. The result of my dissertation was further than what I could think of at the very beginning when I started it. And even more important was the process I went through. I had to trust that although I was taking decisions that I had no idea where they're taking me, I had to trust that they were taking me to a place that was, I don't know, yeah, good for me, or I would get insights that I was not expecting, or so yeah, trust was a main part of it. But as I said, the process was even more important than the actual result, because I can apply this process to other situations, similar situations. Yeah.
So is that with trust? Is that about trusting yourself, or is trusting other people, or what's that mean, and that concept mean for you?
It's both and more. It's trusting that I'm making the right decisions, trusting that I'm meeting the right people, trusting that when I'm having a conversation, although I wanted the conversation to go one direction, it's taking a different direction, but for some reason I need something from that direction that I hadn't considered before. It's trusting that the answers will come when I'm ready for them. The answers will come at the right time, even before the deadline I have set to myself. It's trusting that, that things are going the right direction, although sometimes it feels very chaotic. You don't know if you are going a direction, because my scope was really broad. Yeah. So it's trusting in many ways.
And just to take you back, Ines, you're not a professional dancer, are you?
No, I took ballet when I was a kid. Yeah. Then I stopped for a long time, and I got back. I felt that I wanted to get back to dancing, but I didn't want to do ballet because it's very rigid. It requires lots of discipline and
structured.
Yeah, and engineering is quite structured, so my life was always quite structured. So I was looking for some freedom. And that's when I discovered contemporary dance, where I felt much free in terms of type of movements. I mean, in ballet, the positions are very, very much set, and the movements are set. However, in contemporary dance, I can get guidelines on how to move or so, but within those guidelines, I can explore my own movements, how far my body can go, how far my mind can go, where are the limits, if the limits are in my mind or they are in my body, how both work. So all this kind of mind-body awareness going on.
Yeah, no, it's really important for me when I ask that question, because a lot of people who, when I talk to about dance and movement in their head, oh, but I'm not a dancer. I'm not going to go on a stage. And I think, yeah, but that's not, it's too limiting, that concept of what dance can be. So if we broaden it out to movement,
Yeah.
everybody moves. Whatever you think
Well,
about yourself, everybody moves.
Walking, you can be dancing while walking. So yeah, it's about broadening our understanding of dance. And you don't even need to move to make big movements. I once made a piece of dance that was about moving my eyes, like, and I was completely static. I mean, my body was static except for my eyes, and that was my dance piece.
Yeah. But it's really interesting what you say for us at this moment. We're living with uncertainty, living through a pandemic, and the idea of your body and then your mind and that connection that can happen, that gives stability as well as freedom, reduce stress. All of these things I think are really important concepts, which are so important, especially at this time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, it's been being able to have my own body-mind awareness in order to regulate myself in times where, well, what we were living. Each day, we didn't know how it would turn out, if we would have restrictions, with the being fear about being infected, all these kind of things. It's about regulating myself, and for that you need body awareness, mind awareness, and emotional awareness.
Yeah. Ines, I know we've talked before, and you said to me at one point you did qigong.
Yeah.
And then you started to talk about what are some of the differences you've found between dance in its broadest form and qigong. Just share a little bit about that for me, if you would.
Well, I started taking yoga.
Yeah.
And my yoga teacher was also qigong teacher. So he used to mix both practices. And for me, in a way, they are quite similar in the sense that they provided me with a lot of body and mind awareness, since I was performing the asanas or the qigong movements very slow, so that I could feel what was going on in my body, and I could even make adjustments. If I was feeling stretch, if I wanted to stretch longer, or if I was feeling pain and I had to release a bit, or which muscle I was working on. So for me, that was about developing my relationship with myself, getting to know myself. Whereas in dance, there is a relational component or element to the other dancers, to the audience, to the space. Time is also a choreographic element. So it's for me, the main difference is that yoga, qigong, these practices are about myself, and dance is about how I relate to others, to the somehow external world.
Yeah, I find that interesting because we live in a society, especially in the West, where it's all the individual. And I know even talking to some people about things like mindfulness, they're saying, yeah, we realize that the Western practice of mindfulness is still not the same as the Eastern practice because of the culture of community, and because when you practice mindfulness in the West, you want to just get on with your job, for example. Whereas mindfulness in the East is about the whole community being connected. And it ties in, I think, with a little bit of what you're saying with the qigong and the dance, where so I might be doing a practice and might be doing your movement and your breathing and all that, but it's all encapsulated in me and my body. And you're saying with the dance, is that interaction between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more people.
Yeah.
And it's essentially very different. So
well, in one,
yeah,
for me, in one of them, your awareness is more inwards, and in the other one, you need to spread your awareness to other dancers, to the space, how you interact with them, but at the same time, you need to keep an awareness of yourself, where you are, how you want to interact, how long you want to interact, in which point in the space you want to interact. So there is awareness going outwards and inwards.
So if I'm going to ask you a tough question, I think. I said, well, for the rest of your life, you can only do one or the other. Which do you think you'd want to do? Qigong or
one or the other?
dance?
Oh, that's a very tough question.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
I think I would go with dance.
Okay.
I personally think that you can develop internal awareness doing actually anything. I mean, it's about being mindful about when you are doing something. You can develop awareness doing yoga, doing qigong, doing dance, doing running, cooking, writing. I mean, it's not a matter of the practice itself. It's about how you do it, and which is your intent and how you use the practice. Actually, you can be mindful even at work, and that could improve productivity and so on loads. So if I have to choose one, I would choose dance. But for me, each of them, it kind of gives you some constraints or restrictions so that you can work in a specific aspect. But as I said, you can use anything. I mean, walking can be very, very mindful, and can be, you can develop lots of things. You can get to know how your whole body works. I mean, mechanically. You can develop lots of awareness while you are in the park, what's going on around you, with the people you are surrounded with the trees, with the pavement, how you use the pavement.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know when you're saying that it's while the environment, the awareness of the environment and expanding your awareness, how does that work? How did that work for you in terms of other people around you? So it's more like there's some sort of choreography, some sort of between you and somebody else. You're saying, well, we're doing this together. And so how did that work for you in terms of the feeling of that separateness and then the togetherness?
That's something we trained with during the pandemic, because we were asked to be apart, but we noticed how much we want to be together and surrounded by people. I personally, I realized that sometimes I need to be on my own and I don't want anyone around me. But there are other times that I want to be among people. And I look for those places or those spaces, or I meet friends, or it's I think it's a matter of being aware of your needs.
Yes. Yeah.
And looking for those activities or spaces that can give you what you need at each moment. But first of all, it starts from ourselves. What do I need at every moment?
But in terms of community, I use that word broad. Yeah. It's kind of like, so for me, a community can happen. You and I are a community at the moment because we're talking to each other, we're interacting with each other. Mm-hmm. At the end of this call, you and I will no longer be a community. Okay, so in terms of time, there's a limit to whatever it is as a community. So in terms of dance or movement, you can form a community where we're interacting, and something in me is interacting with me, and something is in you is interacting with yourself, and we're blending this experience together. I'm thinking in terms of dance. How do you think that's beneficial to you personally?
Do you mean how I take what I train, relational training I get in dance outdoors?
Yes. Or even while doing it. So it's like, because I guess because I'm not in that space. So you're moving in a particular way, or listening or reacting to music, which is another element of it. And somebody is in front of you or behind you, and you're interacting. Mm-hmm. And so there's that interacting with somebody else that is going on. Mm-hmm. How would you think that helps you in your day-to-day?
Well, there are some specific exercises I've done in dance. For example, being in front of another person and imitating that person. So in a way, it works for me as first doing movements that are not natural to me or are not my pattern. So getting out of my patterns, finding what I like from that person, what kind of movements I want to repeat, integrating in myself, and then adding my own style to it. So in terms of interacting with people outdoors, I can do somehow the same thing. Who I want to learn from, what do I want to learn from them? I like with this person, how this person is reacting to a certain situation. Do I like it? Does it fit with myself, with my personality? How would I do it instead? These kind of things. And also it helps me how to approach a person. It's like not only seeing the person, but feeling, sensing the person and approach to them in different ways depending on what I feel about them. I don't know if that answers.
So let's say you and I as an example at the moment. Mm-hmm. I have no idea what you feel about me. Okay.
Yeah.
But let's say, so you're feeling something about me and I'm interacting with you. With that awareness that you gain from learning or dance exercises helps you to interact with me in some form or fashion. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. For example, if I feel you don't like close, how to say, interpersonal space.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like to be like this. I prefer to be like, yeah.
For example, then I need to be aware and sense it from you. That if I'm too close to you and I feel you are uncomfortable, that might be a reason, or I'm using a very loud voice tone, or I don't know, it can be anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes I sense that people is talking to me, but they are looking somewhere else, like their attention span is going elsewhere.
Yeah.
So how to address that, for example, how to bring them back to the conversation? Or if I'm feeling that I'm talking to you and you are not interested in the topic at all, so what's the point of continuing talking about it? So
yeah,
this kind of everyday situations.
so you feel that doing the movement piece and the mind body awareness that you gained helps you with that sort of day-to-day connection with other people.
I think it helps me more than what I'm even aware, because in dance or movement, you train it and you do it unconsciously. Most of the skills I developed, I didn't develop them, oh, I'm gonna work on trust, or I'm gonna work on risk taking, or I'm gonna work on whatever. It's something. It's part of the practice.
Yes. Yeah.
I say that it's multidimensional. There are many dimensions going on at the same time, and we are not aware of all of them. We pay attention to one at a time or two at a time. But once you practice it once and again, it somehow becomes part of you. And you take that wherever you go, whether it's outdoors, at work, in any other context, because it's already you. It's already embedded in you. Yeah.
And I guess what you're saying as well is that the more you build this into your daily who you are, do you think it helps you drop your stress levels or anxiety?
Definitely, because you learn to regulate yourself, to deal with yourself, and therefore you develop other strategies to deal with people.
Yeah. So that I just want to come back to, I know you said these practices of mimicking other people. And we talked before, and you said, I remember copying something. So if you just describe an example of what that practice looks like. If you're two people in a room and somebody says, well, this is what we're going to do in terms of mimicking or copying.
Well, the exercise was just putting right in front of another person, and the person could just move. And my task was to mimic, to reproduce exactly the movement, or as exactly and at the same time as they were doing it. So the exercise develops further into, once you have those movements, start doing your own version of them. And as you practice...
When you say impression, does that mean like I raise my hand and you may copy it to start with, but then I raise my hand again and you might not do exactly as...
Yes, I would do it like maybe like this.
Okay.
Or I would do it like this, or I would do like... So you start doing versions, different ways of raising your hand.
And what?
Or you might raise your hand like this. So it's very creative, actually.
I can see it straight away. It's very, very creative. Okay.
Yeah, you can take...
What does that do for you? How does that help?
First of all, doing movements I wouldn't do otherwise, because each person moves in a certain way, has kind of patterns or tendency to move in a certain way. So when you copy someone, you usually get to do movements you don't usually do. So it's kind of a discovery, or at least I sense it that way. For me, it's a discovery of a new movement. And sometimes you just raise your hand and you say, oh, this is very interesting. I can go like this. I can go like this.
Yeah.
How is it if instead of going up, I go down? What happens if I do it while jumping? You have a discovery, you access new possibilities in a way. And one way I took this outdoors was while walking. I would get behind someone and start walking or imitating their walk, their speed, where their weight was. If they were holding something, I would just put my body in the same way. And I noticed it changed my mood. So in a way, the way we feel, it's expressed in the way we walk. In a way, you can take walking as a movement also.
Yes.
So that was very interesting experience.
It's something maybe I suggest we could all give that a shot. So I might go and try that later today to see if you try and imitate somebody's style of walking, the physical affects the emotion.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's very, it impacted me a lot when I noticed that. And the more you imitate the other person, the biggest the change in mood is. Because you can actually imitate anything, the tension you notice. I mean, sometimes I could notice tension in the neck or the shoulders. So if you try to imitate that, it's like, how does it change? How do you feel? The sensations are also very interesting to check. It's a very interesting exercise.
Yeah, it sounds it. But I remember we talked once and you said to me, when you flip it and you're doing something and somebody else is imitating you, so that gives you a totally different experience, or it did. Just what was that like, Ines?
There are different aspects going on there. First of all is seeing yourself in the other person. Also being open to being observed, because someone is really seeing you very closely. It's also sensing or feeling your movements from outside, because one thing is what you think you are doing, and another thing is how that is seen from outside and how the other person is seeing it. I don't know, it's difficult. I think it's difficult to get this if you haven't done it. You really need to experience it.
And is that...
But there are lots of things going on there.
And so does that, did that make you more frightened? Did that make you, those experiences, or did that make you more, how does that change your perception of yourself is what I guess I'm trying to ask in this.
Well, it makes you feel depending on how you feel about being observed. For me, being observed, it makes me uncomfortable. So maybe that's something I need to develop further. Just feel more natural when I'm observed.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's again, it's that idea for me of the mind-body connection, where something's happening on a somatic level, okay, and something's happening on an emotional or mental level, and the idea that we actually are not, there's no dividing line between this half and this bit of your body, or what goes on in here, as opposed to what's going on in your fingers. So as you're saying it, it's like, okay, I can see, and this is generating a feeling or an emotion in me, based on what's going on. But more than just the awareness is suddenly it's like, okay, so I actually can control this, or I'm not totally, I can control what's going on. So if you start to mimic my emotion, and I'm thinking, oh, I don't look like that, or I get whatever, I get happy, I get sad, I get angry, I get frustrated, or whatever it is, that you can actually see it from a distance and then be able to control it. And I guess to me, that is like bringing down the stress level, because whatever I can't control, I'm totally stressed out on. But by doing these exercises, you can learn to bring your stress level down, which again is so important in today's world.
Continuing with the same example, if I'm observed and I feel uncomfortable, then I can go deeper into the awareness. That depends on your awareness levels. I feel uncomfortable. What are the emotions arising? It's fear, I'm feeling stressed. And what is the mindset? It's like, oh, I'm afraid of doing something wrong or saying something wrong. What is triggering that uncomfort in a way? What is triggering the uncomfort? What's triggering the emotion? And getting to your belief or your assumption or about yourself. And once you are aware of it, and that's the point of awareness, you can manage it, regulate it, change it at will. I mean, for example, if you are in a presentation, you are in front of lots of people who are looking at you, you can feel exactly the same. I'm feeling uncomfortable. It's because I'm feeling fearful, and the fearfulness comes from, I think I'm gonna do something wrong, or I might do something wrong, and whatever your mindset is. So at the moment of the presentation, once you are aware of that, you can revert it. Okay, I'm prepared for this presentation, it's gonna be all right. So your levels of stress, anxiety, whatever it is, lower down, and even the level of uncomfort lowers down. So I personally got lots of insights and practices that help me in my everyday life.
I know from the presentation bit where there are times when you have to present something and it gets really stressful. One of the things I remember doing was like doing this. And so that triggers in me a memory of peace. Or so that could take me back to when I was 8 years old and I was taking a nap, and the mere body movement brings back emotional memory, which then I can bring into the present, which was helpful. And it's a very simple thing.
Yeah, that's what we develop as we practice. Once you get to recognize what's going on, you can take specific actions or strategies to calm it down or whatever it's needed. And regarding what you said about memory, when you practice and you do one thing again and again, you build memory, whether it's emotional memory, body muscle memory. It helps you afterwards to recognize your state, not your mental, emotional, and body state, and specific ways or strategies to deal with it.
Yeah. Ines, that one of the as we're coming down towards the end here, I just wanted to touch on one thing you said when you shared with me by email. You said regarding body-mind connection, the most intense connection I achieved was doing coordination exercises. Just, if you want, can you just open that up a little bit and explain that to us?
Sure. What I mean by coordination exercises are kind of movements where you need to be very much focused, paying a lot of attention on how you do the movement, because your hand might go, or your arm might go one direction, your leg a different direction. So you really need to be putting a lot of attention there. So in order for your arm to go right and your leg to go left, you need to develop a strategy there, kind of a body-mind strategy. Do I split my attention into my arm and my leg? Yes. I'm able to do it just somehow in a holistic way. Each person does it in a different way. But what I mean is that you need to put your attention into such a small spot that the body-mind need to be connected. It's very, I don't have the word for it. Very precise.
Precise, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. And so again, the benefit of that is beyond that moment. There's
definitely
a benefit for this that goes outside of whatever you want, either a dance studio or a gym, or even doing this in your bedroom. There's something of value outside that time and that space is what I think what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely.
No, that's really fascinating, because like I say, for all of us now, it's learning to adapt, learning to be aware of how we are responding to the environment around us. And the more, I think, the more we can work on that, the more useful it will be even in helping. For me, it's like you drop the stress level so you can make better decisions. Or
yeah, definitely.
Your mind-body connection exercises help you to remain in the here and now, or the mindfulness in the here and now, so that when somebody at work upsets me, then I can find a place that I can center myself on and not blow up and destroy the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think all of this is important.
I think the body-mind connection helps a lot also while improvising. In uncertain times, as the ones we are living, when we don't know what tomorrow is gonna happen, you cannot really plan that much. You need to improvise, and improvise almost every single day. Not almost. I mean, our governments have been improvising every single day.
Yeah,
periods.
And then we call it something else. They're not improvising.
Well, we call it something else, but in a way, it's an improvisation.
It is, yes, for sure.
So, in that sense, that we have to improvise, the body-mind connection, it's essential. You need to sense rather than think what's going on, and then take action.
Yeah. Ines, this has been an excellent conversation, and it's been great talking with you. So if anybody who's listening has found this useful, do subscribe to some of the stuff that we've got out there. Do drop us a line, make some comments, and we will definitely respond and we do respond to any comments made or questions. So Ines, it's been fantastic. Right. And we will see you in real at some near point in the future. But in the meantime, keep moving.
We will keep moving. Thank you so much, Johnson, for the opportunity.
Take care.
Thank you all.